And, Golden Dawn ceremony, especially when we talk about things like Assumption of God form, which seems to be mysterious to people for some reason, when it's a very simple yet profound practice. You can these ceremonies are flexible enough to allow you to do whatever you need to do at whatever point. For instance, sometimes I get a flavor where I will be doing a lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, and when I return to the center of the pentagram and I invoke the archangels, okay, and I know that they're present, and I declare that about me flames the pentagram and the column shines the six-rayed star, rather than immediately going and doing the Kabbalistic cross to close it, I will sit down while I'm bathed in that angelic energy and do the middle pillar and allow that energy to flow through me, purify me, expand my consciousness, and then from that point, I could do anything I want. I might decide to leave my body, or scry, or do something like that, or talk to another spirit. And then when I'm done, and I've given my license to depart, like, go ye in peace, let there be peace between us, and come again in my peace when I call upon you, then I will do the Kabbalistic cross and fully close that ceremony. So, but that's being done from a place of understanding of the mechanics of that particular ceremony, and that required study and asking questions of someone that was very knowledgeable and preceded me with experience and being willing to say that I don't know something. That could be a big roadblock for many people, is the idea that they might know something or not know something, and thereby be less or miss out because they are unafraid. They're too afraid to say, like, I don't know. I've had a lot of people that were potentially good students, and this is why I don't teach. I only initiate now. If you want to learn something from me directly, you have to become initiated. People that I was trying to teach things to that were so stubborn in their ideas that they already knew what I was talking about, that their minds weren't open to receive new information, right? And it's like when they're trying to finish my sentences, or they're jumping the gun on things. They're not asking for feedback, and I can't give feedback when I don't know what they feel like they need to work on. And their struggles continue, and they only delay their own development. And there was a time during my development when I was working with Gene where I felt like I knew what I needed to know, and I didn't check in. And now, years later, I'm like, wow, I really should have asked more questions. But I was really concerned with not, being seen as not knowing something. I went through that phase as well. So, that in mind, let's talk about some things you can do using Golden Dawn ceremonies. Okay. The one thing I just outlined with the LIRP, calling the angels, and then sitting down and doing the middle pillar. And from there, whether I choose to speak to spirits or whatever I choose to do, that's creating like a ceremony within a ceremony. One of the key components there, when you are trying to work, is ensuring that you have enough authority to do what you're trying to do, or just to better vibe with the energies that you want to bring in. Say you want to make a pentacle for Jove. You want to make a Jupiter pentacle. Okay. So how I would go about doing that is I would do the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, follow up with an invoking ceremony. It could either be a hexagram ceremony or a series of invocations to Jupiter. Okay. Just to kind of start setting the stage. That can be orations, whatever flavor you like. Okay. During this time, I would pour libations around the space, burn relevant incense. And if you don't know relevant incense, you can never go wrong with pure frankincense. Okay. Purify the space, consecrate the space. Okay. Continue in my orations until I begin to feel the energy of Jupiter. And this is that can be kind of tricky your first few attempts if you're unfamiliar with certain energies. Every spirit, God form, planet, whatever you want to call it, has their own distinct vibe. Okay? And Jupiter has a very like magnanimous sort of feel. It feels big in the room. You feel big in yourself. Okay. So once you reach that point where you're starting to feel like yourself vibing with that energy, okay, you want to sit down and visualize the God form around you, okay, and then do the middle pillar and draw that God form's energy down into yourself. And you want to do it and fill yourself up so that you yourself expand into that God form. It's very powerful. And right where you feel like your consciousness is touching that greater consciousness, they feel like they're getting closer and closer and closer. Most likely you will be seeing things internally, hearing things, smelling things. Your senses will be engaged differently. When you reach that point, okay, that's when you begin to make to consecrate and or make your pentacle, whatever you're doing. You might be doing it from scratch and decide you have some vermilion and you're going to draw the seal in the midst of ceremony, or you might already have a prepared pentacle that you just want to bring life to. Okay. And that's while you are still in God form. And it's no different. It's really no different from being possessed. And this is speaking from someone that has been possessed many times. I have a practice that revolves around possession. I'm going to be possessed quite a few more times in the future, so I'm very aware of what these things are like. If you can prepare yourself to achieve God form through visualizations and orations, you will have no problem being possessed in a practice like voodoo or any other so-called ATR. And I'm not a fan of the word ATR because these things aren't religions. They are in fact the cultural traditions that exist within these different African peoples, and it's not this pan-African idea. They each have their own distinct beliefs and practices, and to call them religions kind of compartmentalizes them in a weird way, because it's not institutionalized. Okay, these aren't institutionalized beliefs by a long shot. There will be variations within a single village of how something is done. There'll be multiple variations in regions and so on and so forth. And there's no like institutionalization, so calling them a traditional religion, it doesn't make sense. These are very fluid practices. Okay, you're in the midst of your ceremony. You are in God form. You are feeling divinity. That's when you act. That's when you concentrate and focus on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, okay? That's when you can draw your pentacle that you're trying to draw, your sigil. You might be consecrating an item for that God, okay, for that God form. Maybe you have a scepter that you want to give to Jove, and you pick it up as Jove and you vibe with it. Okay, and then that'll be your holy implement. Or maybe you have a statue that you want to that you're trying to consecrate, and so on and so forth. Whatever you want to do, you do it from that level where you are already one or almost one with that deity, and then focus yourself into putting that energy where you would like it to go to further your intentions and your desires. And yeah, this all sounds like complex stuff, but I assure you that anybody can achieve God form. You may not be ready to work in it, but you can achieve God form by you can do it through orations. That always worked for me. The first time I achieved God form was with Pan and Pan. And I got there through reciting the hymn to Pan every day. Every day. I would wake up, I would recite the hymn. I would take a lunch break. I would recite the hymn. I'd get off of work. I'd recite the hymn. Before I went to bed, I recited the hymn. I was reciting the hymn in my dreams, and so on and so forth. And I was just I was just feeling things out. I didn't know what I was doing. I only knew how to. The only ceremony I knew how to do was the LBRP. That was it. And I was just doing the hymn over and over again. And then one day I was doing the hymn and I go, wow, this feels amazing. How do I bring more of this into myself? And I'm like, oh, I'll try doing the middle pillar. So I sat down while all just feeling all these really awesome energies. Like I'm smiling just thinking about it. What an awesome spirit Pan is. And I did the middle pillar, and suddenly it was like my whole consciousness expanded, and I was having a vision. It was very personal, so I can't share it, but I was having a vision while that was taking place, and it was amazing. And then I gradually withdrew my consciousness and, took the time and gave the spirit a license to depart. And I was like, wow, that was really cool. And I called my GD friend, my Golden Dawn buddy, and, was talking with him about it. And he goes, oh, we should do a ceremony. And he's like, do you want to do this ceremony and assume the God form of Pan? And then we'll do like a Eucharist or something. I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. So we, a couple of weeks later, we meet at his house. He had really nice stuff. He had, the white and the white and black pillars. They were, really tall, like 7 feet tall, hand painted, beautiful stuff. The double cube altar with the Enochian letters on it and everything. So, we do this ceremony, and I'm like kind of nervous. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. I've got this little wand that I made from a banyan with me, consecrated in holy oil. I'd anointed myself with holy oil, and they're doing all the opening stuff, and I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I went there holding my wand and climbing the wand as I'm worlds, and I begin, Yopan, and suddenly I disappeared. And everybody else saw what happened, but I had no idea what happened. I was completely just gone. I would become possessed by that spirit and was briefly like baying like a goat. And then I took the wine and the food that was intended to be a Eucharist for communing with the spirit. The spirit took it and, offered it to everybody, ate and drank some himself. And then I came back and I was like, what just happened? Few weeks later, we tried it again, but this time, I was just helping in the ceremony while my GD friend assumed the god form of Horus. And here's the thing that you don't see when you see videos of possession and people wide-eyed walking around and, puffing themselves up and everything, because the video doesn't necessarily capture it. But when a person is really possessed, we have no doubt of what's taking place, because generally some part of them transforms, even if briefly. Anyone that's witnessed a real possession has witnessed this transformation. And that transformation is sometimes hard to describe, but when I say it looked like this guy's face turned into a hawk head, I don't know what to say. It's what it looked like. He looked like a hawk, and his eyes had turned completely black, and he had blue eyes. His eyes turned completely black in front of me. It was pretty cool stuff, to be perfectly honest. And we were all everyone that wasn't him was a little nervous, to see this turning his head like a bird and really short and jerky. It was profound. So